In this video, we're going to show you how to mark your fermenting jars with gallon marks. I'm Greg.
I'm Julie, and we're the Crafty Winers.
So, every wine recipe tells you to fill up your fermenting vessel to a gallon mark. So if you're making a gallon of wine, it's going to be a 1 gallon mark on your jug. If it's a 6 gallon or 6.5 gallon fermenter, you're usually going to fill it up to the 6 gallon mark. Every vessel seems to have a different place that those gallons fall though. For instance, if you can see this one, there's a 1 gallon mark on it. And you'll see that I've marked here the gallon point, and it's quite a bit above the 1 gallon. A lot of the wine kits will tell you to fill up the bottle. The 1 gallon mark is to the bottom of the letters that say 1 gallon, but in this case that's not true. The first time that I made wine, I followed those directions and found out that I was about a third of a gallon shy of how much water was supposed to be put into it. So it really can affect the taste, it affects the wine. It's important to know where the gallon marks are. So first thing I do when I get a new fermenter is I go through and mark it. First, what I started off doing was using a permanent marker, a Sharpie, and it would only take 2 or 3 washings and the Sharpie would be gone. So the best way to make it so that you don't lose your marks is to etch the glass. And then I also will mark it with a Sharpie afterwards. And then when that Sharpie disappears, you can remark it because you can see the etch mark on the glass. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But first thing we're going to do, and this is already marked, so I'm kind of cheating. I don't have any that aren't marked. I'm going to add additional marks onto this jar. So you can just kind of ignore what's already there. But first thing I'm going to do is fill this up. So use a pitcher, something that is a vessel that you know is a gallon, or you know how much water to put in it to make it a gallon, like this nice pitcher that has all the quantities up to a gallon marked on it, 128 fluid ounces. So I already put a gallon worth of water in here, so I'm going to pour it into this vessel. Normally I wouldn't use a funnel, but because this is on camera, I decided I would.
And I'll get mad if he spills it all over me.
That might be fun. So we fill it up, and if it doesn't go to those black marks that I already put on here for a gallon, I'm going to be embarrassed, and I'll try to figure out something witty to say as to why that happened.
Better start thinking. Oh, look, it's perfect.
It is perfect. So when you do this, it's usually there's going to be some bubbles, like you can probably see in there. So let the bubbles dissipate before you mark it. But then the next thing I'm going to do is find where that liquid, where that 1 gallon is falling on here. And again, if this is a 6 gallon vessel, you're going to fill it up with 6 gallons. I mean, always go to the even number of gallons, the top level of gallons for that vessel, for that fermenter. So I'm going to put a little black mark here with the Sharpie, and that's where we're going to do our etching. That's only there temporarily. In fact, it's going to disappear here in a minute, but that's just so that I know where I'm etching. I'll point out that this is a Fast Rack brand, or they're the vendor for these wide mouth gallon secondary fermenters. I guess you could use it for a primary if you really wanted to, but the gallon mark is right where the threads start on these. So there really isn't a good place to mark them, and it's really not really important. You'll know anytime you get one that's designed like this, a gallon is right where the threads start. So now I put that mark on there. Now I'm going to show you how to etch, and we're going to do some magic editing so that you don't have to sit here for the whole thing. But we'll get this started. So I use kind of a thin, I think 3/4 inch painter's tape. That's going to be difficult. And I tear off about 1 inch pieces in strips. Maybe 1.5 inches. And I put that all the way around this mark so that just the mark ends up being showing through the tape. This painter's tape you can get at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart. I buy rolls of it at a time because I use it for labels. I use it for a lot of things. I even use it for my cameras.
We even actually use it for painting.
That's weird. So what you're going to end up with is just a little slot where your Sharpie mark is. And then it's really important to go around this and press it down really tightly, because if any of this etching liquid gets underneath the tape, it'll mess up the etch, which isn't, it's probably not real important with these marks. It's more important if you're trying to put letters. And you can buy etching kits from Amazon or probably Walmart, other different places that have letters. If you wanted to mark, if you wanted to put the letters 1 gallon on here, you could. I don't waste my time because I know that the mark means that that's the top gallon on the vessel, so it's just kind of a waste of time. So you see that there is a slot with the Sharpie in the middle, and I've got this all tied down. It's very tight against the jar. There shouldn't be any gaps there. So now I'm going to use the etching fluid, and this is Armor Etch. I got it from Amazon. The link will be in the description. And this particular vendor throws in little paint brushes with it, which is really nice. You don't have to try to remember to buy paint brushes elsewhere. So you dip the paint brush in, put a pretty generous amount up on the slot, and for like maybe 30 seconds to a minute, just brush it around, and the black Sharpie, if you're doing it right, the black Sharpie should all disappear. So all you're seeing is glass.
Yep.
You see I've got a pretty generous amount there. The Sharpie is gone. So I'm going to put one last big dab on there. And then I'm going to let it sit for about 3 minutes. So through the magic of editing, okay, so 3 minutes have passed, so our etching should be done. This is dried up a little bit, but most of it is still liquid, so I'm going to brush it off and stick it back into my bottle here. So theoretically, this bottle of etcher should last pretty much forever because you're losing very little each time you etch.
Well, aren't you thrifty?
Yeah. That's a good word for it. It's a nice word. So the next thing I need to do is wash this off. So we're going to do another little edit here, and I'm going to go to the sink and wash it off. Basically, I'm going to run it under warm water, take the painter's tape off, and then make sure that I've rubbed any etcher that might still be on there off the bottle. So I'll be right back. Okay, so here it is, washed off. And it may be hard to see in the camera, but we're going to try. You can see the etch mark on there now. So that's a permanent mark that shouldn't ever go away. And that marks where the 1 gallon mark is. So now I'm going to take my Sharpie and just color in that etched area. And the Sharpie is going to stick to that now that it's etched because there's little pits in the glass. So the Sharpie will stay on there a lot longer. And if when it rubs off, you've got the etch that you can use to fill it back in. So again, it's important to know where the gallon mark is on your jugs. If you put too much or too little water in initially when you're first starting your brew, it can definitely affect the taste, the entire process going through. So you really need to know where that 1 gallon mark is. Typically, you're going to add concentrate or grape juice if you're really fancy, and then you're going to add water up to a certain point, and that point is going to be that gallon mark. So you've got to know where that mark is. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please tell your friends about it. Please like the video, subscribe to our channel. We will have links to all the items that we used, including the fermenters and the measuring items and the etching and all that will be in the description. So thank you.
And cheers to you.
And cheers.